India's gig economy is exploding. But the real question is not whether it creates jobs. It does. The real question is what kind of jobs it is creating. Behind every 10-minute grocery order, every late-night food delivery, every cab ride, and every app-based home service, there is a worker being managed by something that never sleeps. An algorithm. No factory gate, no attendance register, no permanent boss. Just a login button, a map, a rating, and a promise. Work when you want, earn when you need. That promise is powerful. In a country where formal jobs are still scarce, platform work can feel like a lifeline. A young worker can start earning quickly, a migrant can avoid total unemployment, a student can work part-time, a driver can use a vehicle to generate income, a beautician can find customers without owning a shop. But here is the uncomfortable part. If this work is truly flexible, why are so many workers spending full days online? If this is a stepping stone, why are so many workers getting stuck? And if gig workers are independent partners, why can an app decide who gets work, who earns incentives, who is punished, and who gets blocked? This is the contradiction at the heart of India's gig economy. It is both a real employment absorber and a new form of informality. Only this time, informality comes with GPS, ratings, venture capital, and algorithmic control. The scale is already massive. NITI Aayog estimated that India had about 7.7 million gig workers in 2020 to 2021. By 2029 to 2030, that number is projected to reach 23.5 million. That is more than a labor trend. That is a structural shift in how millions of Indians may earn their living. But even this number comes with a warning. NITI Aayog itself noted that India does not have a complete official data system for counting gig workers. That means the same workforce celebrated as the future can also remain invisible when it comes to regulation, insurance, and bargaining power. This invisibility matters because gig work in India is not exactly like gig work in rich countries. In many Western economies, gig work is often sold as a side hustle, something extra, something temporary. In India, it increasingly becomes the main job because stable formal work is not available for everyone. Primus Partners surveyed 1,500 mostly platform delivery workers in 2025. Around 61% described themselves as full-time gig workers. Average earnings were about 22,500 rupees per month. Only 15% saw gig work as a stepping stone. Among long tenure workers in their 20s, that stepping stone share fell to around 3%. That one number changes the whole debate. If only around 3% of long tenure young workers see this as a bridge, then for many, the gig economy is not a temporary stop. It is becoming the road itself. And that is where the promise of flexibility starts to crack. Platforms say, gig work offers freedom. Workers can choose when to log in, where to work, and how much effort to put in. This is not completely false. Compared to many traditional informal jobs, platform work can offer faster onboarding, clearer daily income, and access to customers at scale. But workers and unions argue that this flexibility is conditional. To earn decently, workers often have to chase peak-hour slots, accept algorithmic nudges, complete enough orders, protect ratings, and qualify for incentives. If you log in at the wrong time, reject too many orders, miss incentives, or get penalized, the freedom becomes much less real. In other words, the app may not force you to work, but the income structure can quietly pressure you to work in very specific ways. The money also looks different before and after costs. A monthly earning figure can sound acceptable until you subtract fuel, vehicle rent or EMI, servicing, tires, phone depreciation, data packs, uniforms, unpaid waiting time, unpaid travel to pickup points, platform commissions, penalties, and medical costs after accidents. TechCrunch, citing worker unions, reported delivery workers earning roughly $4 to $6 a day after platform structures, while cab drivers saw commissions rise to around 25 to 30% after the pandemic phase. It also reported that some workers needed 12 to 14-hour days to reach average earnings. Platforms dispute some of these claims and argue that earnings have improved. But the deeper problem is transparency. Without granular cost-adjusted data, it becomes very hard to know what workers actually take home. And take-home income is the only number that really matters. This is where the algorithm becomes the new boss. A gig worker may not have a human manager standing over them, but the app controls access to work. It allocates orders, it ranks workers, it changes incentives, it penalizes cancellations, it adjusts pricing, it can deactivate accounts. In the old economy, a worker knew whom to argue with. In the platform economy, the boss is a dashboard. And when something goes wrong, the worker may meet a chatbot, a form, or a call center with limited power. TechCrunch reported that the Telangana Gig and Platform Workers Union received around 25 to 30 deactivation cases per week in 2023. Workers complained that grievance systems were remote, automated, or ineffective. Platforms say they provide helplines, fleet managers, and appeal channels. But the recurring issue is due process. If a worker's income falls, why did it fall? If an account is blocked, what exactly triggered it? If incentives change, who explains the logic? If ratings hurt income, how can the worker challenge unfair ratings? This is why critics use the phrase digital feudalism. The platform owns the customer, the data, the pricing, the reputation layer, the dispatch system, and the rulebook. The worker owns the vehicle, the fuel cost, the physical risk, the idle time, and often the debt. That does not mean every platform is evil or every gig job is exploitation. The nuance matters. Platforms really do create income opportunities. They really do solve consumer problems. They really do create new service markets. But the core question is not whether the technology is useful. The question is, who captures the value and who carries the risk? Fairwork India's 2024 ratings show how serious the gap is. Out of 11 platforms studied, only Big Basket and Urban Company earned the first Fair Pay point for policies ensuring local minimum wage after costs. No platform earned the second Fair Pay point for a local living wage after costs, and no platform earned a point for fair representation, meaning there was not enough evidence that platforms recognized independent worker collectives. That is a brutal finding. It means that even where some platforms meet a basic minimum wage after costs standard, the stronger living wage standard remains unmet, and the representation gap is even sharper. Platforms can organize through industry bodies. Investors can organize through capital. Consumers organize through demand. But workers, the people physically holding up the system, are still fighting to be heard. This becomes even more important when we compare gig work with formal employment. A formal employee may get Provident Fund, employee state insurance, paid leave, maternity benefits, sick leave, gratuity, notice periods, and clearer employer liability. Gig workers often get partial insurance or platform-specific welfare, but not the full bundle of employment rights. They may be called partners, but they do not usually control the platform. They may be called independent, but they often depend on one or two apps for daily income. India has started recognizing this problem. The Code on Social Security, 2020, legally recognizes gig and platform workers. It allows schemes for life and disability cover, accident insurance, health benefits, maternity benefits, old age protection, and similar welfare. Aggregators can be required to contribute 1 to 2% of annual turnover, capped at 5% of the payments made or payable to gig and platform workers. That sounds important, and it is. But legal recognition is not the same as real protection. A worker does not survive on recognition. A family does not pay rent with a draft policy. Protection has to become real through registration, benefit delivery, accident claims, grievance systems, and enforceable rights. At the state level, the policy race has already begun. Rajasthan passed a platform gig workers' welfare law in 2023. Karnataka and Jharkhand circulated drafts in 2024. Telangana circulated a draft bill in April 2025. The Telangana draft is especially important because it proposes worker registration, a welfare board, a welfare fund fee of 1 to 2% of worker payout per transaction, algorithmic information rights, termination notice, grievance redressal, and penalties for non-payment. But the catch is implementation. Many of these laws and drafts are still focused on boards, funds, and registration. The harder questions are practical. Who collects the money? How fast are benefits paid? Can a worker appeal deactivation quickly? Will algorithms become explainable? Will workers know their rights? Will platforms comply across states? And will welfare become meaningful or just another layer of paperwork? The pressure becomes even sharper in quick commerce. 10-minute delivery feels magical to consumers. You tap your phone, and groceries appear at your door faster than many people can make tea. But someone still has to pick, pack, ride, climb stairs, handle customers, and meet time expectations. Platforms argue that fast delivery comes from dense dark stores and smart routing, not reckless speeding. Zomato and Blinkit's Deepinder Goyal has argued that proximity, not unsafe driving, powers the model. The BBC reported that he said full-time workers could earn around 21,000 rupees per month plus tips. But critics respond that such figures can hide worker-borne costs. Earnings before fuel, vehicle maintenance, waiting time, and accident risk are not the same as real income. The BBC also reported that a late 2025 New Year strike involved demands around minimum wages and transparency in wage calculation. The strike also called for accountability over algorithmic control and an end to unsafe 10-minute promises. That strike captured the wider conflict perfectly. Consumers want instant convenience, platforms want scale and efficiency, workers want income, safety, and dignity. And all three forces are colliding at the doorstep. There is also a gender and class story here. Delivery and mobility gig work remains overwhelmingly male. Primus found that 95.9% of respondents in its survey were men. The gig economy is often promoted as open and flexible, but flexibility does not automatically mean inclusion. Women face extra barriers such as safety at night, harassment, lack of toilets, family restrictions, and maternity-related exclusion. NITI Aayog has highlighted potential opportunities for women and persons with disabilities, but potential is not the same as actual safe participation. The class profile is also clear, with many gig workers from lower-income urban households and migrant backgrounds. Student groups, laid-off workers, and communities with limited access to formal employment also feature heavily. Caste and class disadvantage likely shape who enters this work and who has fewer exit routes. That is why calling gig work a free choice can be misleading. Choice exists, but choices are made inside economic conditions. If the alternative is no job or unstable daily wage labor, platform work can look attractive even when it is insecure. This is the real complexity, because gig work can be better than some alternatives and still not be good enough. Public sentiment is also split. Many consumers are uncomfortable with the human cost of instant delivery. On Reddit and other platforms, people have asked whether India really needs 10-minute delivery. Acclaimed Blinkit dark store worker described timer pressure, running inside dark stores, accidents, and poor treatment. That is anecdotal, but it matches themes seen in worker reporting. On X, pro-worker voices focus on dignity, safety, minimum pay, and algorithmic accountability. Pro-startup voices argue that politicians and activists are demonizing job creators and workers choose flexibility. They also say that dense dark store networks make quick commerce efficient without forcing unsafe speed. Both sides are reacting to something real. India does need jobs. Platforms do create income. Consumers do value convenience. Startups do build new markets. But workers also need protection. Algorithms do need accountability. Earnings do need to be measured after costs. And flexibility cannot become a polite word for insecurity. The strongest version of the gig economy would look very different from the weakest version. In the strong version, platform work becomes a bridge. Workers earn above minimum wages after costs. Accident and health protection are reliable. Deactivations come with notice and appeal. Incentive systems are transparent. Workers can organize. Women and persons with disabilities can participate safely. Skills improve over time. Workers can move upward, not just survive order to order. In the weak version, gig work becomes a trap. Workers absorb costs, risk, heat, rain, pollution, debt, and injuries. Algorithms remain opaque. Welfare exists on paper. Accounts can be blocked without meaningful appeal. Earnings look decent only before expenses. After years of work, the worker is not more skilled, more secure, or more mobile. That is the real test. After 5 years of platform work, is a worker better off, more skilled, more secure, less vulnerable, closer to a stable future? Or is he just older, more exhausted, more indebted, and easier to replace? India's gig economy is not simply exploitation, and it is not simply liberation. It is India's old informality, rebuilt with apps, ratings, venture capital, and data. It creates income fast. It absorbs youth unemployment. It serves urban consumers. It gives millions of people a way to earn when the formal economy does not offer enough doors. But without enforceable minimum earnings after costs, transparent algorithms, accident and health protection, appeal rights, collective bargaining, and career ladders, it risks becoming a permanent low-skill trap. The future of Indian labor may indeed be platform-based, but if the future means no provident fund, no employee state insurance, no paid leave, no sick leave, no maternity security, no accident certainty, no bargaining power, and no upward mobility, then it is not really the future. It is the past wearing an app interface. The question is not whether India should stop the gig economy. That is not realistic, and it may not even be desirable. The better question is whether India can civilize it before it becomes too big to challenge. Because the delivery app is not just a convenience machine, it is a labor market machine, and the choice before India is simple. Will platform work become a ladder of opportunity, or will it become a trap with GPS?